The Herb Farm restaurant in Woodinville, Washington, glowed under the soft light of crystal chandeliers, its polished oak tables adorned with crisp white linens and delicate glassware. The scent of roasted herbs and freshly baked bread wafted through the air, mingling with the murmur of conversation and the clink of champagne flutes. It was the kind of place where Seattle's elite gathered to celebrate milestones. And tonight, it was the stage for my brother Michael's engagement dinner. The dinner began with a cascade of toasts. My father raised his glass, his voice thick with pride. To Michael, who has never failed to make us proud, and to Lauren, a brilliant woman who matches his ambition. We're blessed to welcome her into our family. My mother followed, her toast a polished narrative of Michael's achievements, from his high school valedictorian speech to his recent promotion to chief resident. To Michael and Lauren, she concluded, partners in excellence. Glasses clinked, and I caught Lauren glancing at me, her brow slightly furrowed, as if trying to place me in a context beyond the family script. As the first course arrived, seared scallops with a citrus glaze, I fielded the usual questions from Aunt Clara. So, Emily, how's your little tech job going? She asked, her tone dripping with concern. I'm in health technology, I replied, keeping it vague. Data systems mostly. It was true, but it undersold the truth by a universe. HealthSync had reduced hospital errors by 50% in its partner facilities, a statistic I held close, like a talisman. Oh, that's nice, Clara said, already turning to ask Michael about his latest research. The conversation swirled around me, a familiar dance of praise for Michael, and polite indifference toward me. My uncle leaned across the table. Emily, I hear Michael's friend at Google might have an IT opening. That could be a big step for you. I sipped my water, suppressing a smile. I'm happy where I am, thanks. My father overheard, his voice firm. Emily, there's no shame in taking help to get started somewhere reputable. We just want you to succeed. Then, in a moment that felt like the world holding its breath, Lauren's voice cut through the chatter. Emily, forgive me, but is your last name Carter? The table fell silent. Michael frowned, confused. Of course it is. She's my sister. Lauren's eyes widened, a spark of recognition igniting. You're Emily Carter. From HealthSync Solutions. The words hung in the air, heavy with truth. I met her gaze, my heart steady. Yes, I said simply. Lauren set down her fork, the clink against the china impossibly loud. You're the founder? The co-founder of HealthSync? The platform that's transformed patient care? My company's in final talks to acquire you for $250 million. The silence that followed was deafening. My father's glass froze halfway to his lips. My mother's hand clutched her necklace, her composure unraveling. Michael's jaw dropped, his confident smile replaced by disbelief. Is this true? My father asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, calm but resolute. Mia Alvarez and I started HealthSync 6 years ago. We employ 80 people and serve over 300 hospitals nationwide. Lauren, now animated, turned to the table. Their system cut medication errors at Boston Medical by 60% in a single year. It's why we're paying a premium to bring them on board. She looked at me, almost apologetic. I had no idea you were Michael's sister. Your profile just lists Emily, no photo. I've been negotiating with your team for weeks. I prefer a low profile, I said, the understatement landing like a quiet thunderclap. The room erupted into a flurry of questions. My mother, recovering, stammered, "Why didn't you tell us?" My uncle, who'd pitied me moments ago, asked about investment opportunities. Michael, still processing, laughed nervously. Lauren, you must be mistaken. Emily works in, tech support. Lauren shook her head, her voice firm. No, Michael. Your sister's a visionary. I, Emily Carter, stood at the threshold of the private dining room, my heart a quiet drumbeat of anticipation and resolve. For years, I'd navigated my family's expectations, their voices echoing that I was wasting my potential, chasing a foolish dream in technology, while they celebrated Michael's rise as a neurologist. But tonight, something shifted. Tonight, The truth I'd guarded for years would unravel in a single, breathtaking moment. She's the ghost founder everyone in health tech talks about. As the shock rippled through the room, I felt a lightness I hadn't known I needed. For years, I'd poured my heart into HealthSync, not for their approval, but for the patients whose lives we saved, for the teens I taught coding to in Seattle's underserved communities, for the belief that my work mattered. I'd started a program at local high schools, teaching kids like I once was to code their futures, a quiet rebellion against the doubt I'd faced. That mission, not this moment, defined me. Yet, standing here, with my family's eyes on me, some awestruck, some opportunistic eye, realized this was a milestone of its own. Not because they finally saw me, but because I saw myself clearly. I'd built something undeniable, not to prove them wrong, but to prove myself right. Lauren pulled me aside as the evening wound down. "I'm sorry if I put you on the spot," she said. I was just floored. I smiled, genuine warmth in my voice. "Don't apologize, this was always going to happen eventually." Walking to my car, the cool Washington air brushing my skin, I felt unburdened. The secret I'd carried was out, and whatever came next, awkward family talks, newfound respect, or more misunderstandings, I was ready. I'd learned to validate myself through every late-night coding session, every hospital we'd helped, every kid I'd inspired. That was my triumph, and no one could take it away. If you're reading this, chasing a dream others don't see, know this. Your worth isn't in their recognition. It's in the lives you touch, the problems you solve, the quiet moments when you know you're enough. Keep going. The world will catch up. I adjusted the hem of my understated navy dress, chosen not to impress but to blend, and took a deep breath. The meditation practice I'd cultivated over the past year steadied me, a ritual of grounding I'd learned to quiet the noise of doubt. 5 years ago, I'd founded HealthSync Solutions, a health tech company that streamlined hospital data to save lives. It was now on the verge of being acquired for $250 million by Meditech Innovations, a titan in the industry. Yet, my family knew none of this. To them, I was still Emily, the daughter who'd chosen a lesser path, tinkering with computers, instead of joining the ranks of doctors or lawyers like my father, Henry, or my mother, Elizabeth. Their disappointment had been a constant weight, but I'd carried it silently, building my empire in the shadows. As I stepped into the dining room, the Chicago River glittered beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, a reminder of the world beyond these walls. My mother, Elizabeth, was rearranging place cards with the precision of the corporate lawyer she was, her silver earrings catching the light. My father, Henry, a cardiologist whose name graced medical journals, stood by the bar, laughing with a man I assumed was Lauren's father. Michael, my older brother, spotted me first. "Emily, you're here," he said, crossing the room with a smile that carried a hint of pity, the kind reserved for someone who hadn't quite made it. He pulled me into a quick hug. "Come meet Lauren." Lauren Hayes, Michael's fiancée, stood near the window, her burgundy gown elegant against the city's skyline. She was the director of acquisitions at Meditech Innovations, though I didn't know it yet. Her warm smile and firm handshake disarmed me. "Emily, it's so wonderful to meet you," she said, her voice genuine. "Michael's told me so much about you." I wondered what he'd said, likely a version of the story my family had crafted. Emily, the bright girl who could have been so much more. I smiled back. "Congratulations, Lauren. I'm thrilled for you both." My mother appeared at my side. Her tone clipped but polite. "Emily, you found something to wear. That's nice." The pause that followed spoke volumes, a subtle jab at my perceived lack of sophistication. "We've seated you next to Aunt Clara. You two always chat easily." Translation. I was relegated to the edges of the table, far from the important guests. I nodded, unfazed. I'd learned long ago that their seating charts didn't define my worth. The tree-lined streets of Mercer Island, a pristine suburb just east of Seattle, were a postcard of perfection-manicured lawns, waterfront estates, and the quiet hum of ambition. Growing up in the Carter household, I, Emily Carter, learned early that perfection wasn't just a goal, it was a mandate. Our home, a modern masterpiece of glass and cedar, was more than a place to live. It was a stage where achievements were performed, scrutinized, and ranked. My father, Doctor, I built a database to streamline it, cutting search times in half. The head librarian, Miss Thompson, a woman with kind eyes and a knack for spotting potential, was amazed. "Emily, this is remarkable," she said, her voice warm with belief. "You have a gift for making things better. Have you thought about a career in technology?" Her words were a lifeline, the first time an adult saw my work as more than a pastime. Unlike my parents, who dismissed my library project as cute, when Miss Thompson praised it at a school event, she planted a seed. Maybe I wasn't wrong to love this. Miss Thompson became my quiet champion. She slipped me books on programming, dog-eared copies of Code Complete and The Pragmatic Programmer, and encouraged me to enter a regional coding competition at 15. I spent months preparing, building a scheduling tool for local nonprofits. The night before the event, I overheard my parents planning Michael's medical school application party, their voices bright with pride. When I mentioned the competition, my mother's response was distracted. "That's nice, Emily. Just don't let it interfere with your SAT prep." The competition day arrived, and I stood alone among families cheering their kids. My heart heavy but determined. My tool won first place, earning praise from professional engineers who called my approach innovative beyond your years. I clutched the trophy all the way home, only to find our house buzzing with relatives toasting Michael's early acceptance to Johns Hopkins. My father glanced at my award. "Good job, Emily," he said, before returning to the celebration. That night, I made a vow. I'd build something they couldn't ignore, not for their approval, but for myself. Those years weren't just about rejection. They were about discovery. The library became my haven, where I'd spend Saturdays coding alongside Miss Thompson's gentle encouragement. One afternoon, inspired by a news article about hospital inefficiencies, I sketched an idea for a platform to connect doctors and patients seamlessly. It was a fleeting dream then, but it was the first whisper of what would become HealthSync Solutions. I started a journal, not of teenage crushes, but of app ideas, technical challenges, and questions about how technology could solve real problems. Writing those pages felt like mapping a path no one else could see. The emotional toll of being unseen wasn't small. I'd lie awake, wondering if I was foolish to chase a dream my family dismissed. But every time doubt crept in, I'd think of the library patrons who thanked me for making their searches easier, or the nonprofit director who said my scheduling tool saved her team hours. Those moments, small but real, were my fuel. They reminded me that impact mattered more than applause. My best friend, Sarah Kim, was another anchor. She didn't understand code, but she understood me. When I'd vent about my parents' indifference, she'd say, "They're wrong, Emily. You're going to change the world. Just wait." Her belief, alongside Miss Thompson's, was a bridge over the chasm of my family's doubt. By my junior year, I was balancing AP classes, library volunteering, and secret coding projects. I launched a small website for local businesses to manage inventory, a side hustle that earned me enough to buy a better laptop. My parents, noticing the extra cash, assumed I was tutoring. I didn't correct them. It was easier to let them believe what fit their narrative. But inside, I was growing, learning not just how to code, but how to trust myself. Henry Carter was a cardiologist whose name echoed in Seattle's medical circles, a man who saved lives and expected his children to match his legacy. My mother, Elizabeth Carter, was a corporate lawyer whose courtroom victories were the stuff of legend, her sharp mind shaping our family's high expectations. And then there was my brother Michael, 4 years my senior, the golden child who glided into neurology with the ease of someone born to succeed. The pressure of Mercer Island, the weight of my family's expectations, could have crushed me. Instead, it forged me. I wasn't just Emily, the overlooked daughter. I was Emily, the girl who saw problems and built solutions, who found joy in lines of code and purpose in making a difference. Looking back, those years were the crucible where my resilience was born. They taught me that belief starts within, that a dream doesn't need permission to grow. If you're reading this, feeling trapped by others' expectations, know that your passion is enough. Find your Miss Thompson, your Sarah, your quiet corner to create. The world may not see you yet, but every step you take is a foundation for something extraordinary. Mine was HealthSync, a vision that began in a teenager's bedroom and would one day change healthcare. But back then, it was just me, a laptop, and a stubborn refusal to give up. For me, at 34 now, looking back on those years is like revisiting a battlefield where I fought to be seen. Not as a disappointment, but as myself, a girl whose heart beat for code, not courtrooms or operating rooms. Our family dinners were less about nourishment than interrogation. Every evening, as the clink of silverware filled the air, my mother would lean forward, her voice crisp. So, what did everyone accomplish today? Michael, ever prepared, would recount his latest Triumpha-perfect AP biology score, a debate team victory, or volunteer hours at Seattle Children's Hospital. My parents would nod, their smiles wide and genuine, pride radiating like sunlight. When my turn came, I felt the weight of their gaze, not curious, but evaluative. At 14, I'd spent a weekend teaching myself JavaScript, building a budgeting app for my school's annual charity drive. I was bursting with pride, my voice eager as I shared it at the table. I made an app that tracks donations in real time. It's live on the school website. My mother's response was a tight smile, the kind that never reached her eyes. That's sweet, Emily. But shouldn't you be focusing on your math Olympiad prep? Colleges want well-rounded leaders, not hobbies. My father, already turning to Michael, added, maybe you can use those computer skills for something practical later, like data entry. The message was clear. My passion for technology was a toy, not a future. Real success wore scrubs or a suit, not the oversized hoodie I coded in. I retreated to my bedroom, my sanctuary, where the glow of my laptop screen was a rebellion against their judgment. While Michael's walls boasted framed academic awards, mine were plastered with printouts of code snippets and wireframes for apps I dreamed of building. Late at night, when the house was silent, I'd lose myself in online tech forums, connecting with strangers across the globe who spoke my language, people who saw coding as art, not a distraction. Those hours, stolen between homework and sleep, were where I began to forge my identity, even if my family couldn't see it. School offered little reprieve. Mercer Island High was a pressure cooker, where students competed for Ivy League acceptance letters. My classmates chased grades. I chased solutions. During my freshman year, I started volunteering at the Mercer Island Library, a cozy brick building overlooking Lake Washington. It was there, digitizing their outdated card catalog, that I found a spark. The library's system was a mess, paper records, endless errors. The University of Washington's Seattle campus was a world of red brick buildings, sprawling lawns, and cherry blossoms that bloomed like promises each spring. For me, Emily Carter, arriving there at 18 was like stepping into sunlight after years in the shadow of my family's expectations. Back in Mercer Island, my parents, Dr. Henry Carter and Elizabeth Carter, had sculpted a vision of success that left no room for my love of technology. To amplify voices like ours, I started a podcast called Tech Trailblazers during my second year. It was a scrappy project, recorded in my dorm with a borrowed microphone, but it gave me a platform to interview women in tech, engineers, founders, researchers who defied expectations to build extraordinary careers. Each episode was a love letter to my younger self, the girl who'd coded in secret, while her family looked away. Listeners, mostly students like me, sent messages about how the stories inspired them to keep going. The podcast wasn't just a creative outlet. It was a declaration that my path mattered, even if my parents couldn't see it. The turning point came during a regional hackathon in my junior year, hosted at Seattle's Museum of Pop Culture. Mia and I teamed up, fueled by too much caffeine and a shared vision. Over 48 hours, we built a prototype for a patient data sharing tool, a rough but functional precursor to HealthSync. Our pitch, a platform that reduced hospital errors by connecting providers, seamlessly won first place, earning us $5,000 and an invitation to a startup incubator. Standing on that stage, clutching our trophy as the crowd applauded, I felt a surge of validation. Mia grabbed my hand, her eyes bright. This is it, Emily. This is what we're meant to do. For once, I didn't think about my family's disapproval. I thought about the patients we could help, the problems we could solve. But home was never far from my mind. During summer breaks, I'd return to Mercer Island where nothing had changed. Family dinners were still a stage for Michael's Akhaladesh's research publications, his hospital rotations, while my updates were met with polite disinterest. "How's school?" my mother would ask, her tone implying she already knew the answer. "It's great," I'd say, mentioning a professor's praise or the hackathon win. "That's nice," she'd reply, quickly pivoting to Michael's latest grant. My father, ever practical, once suggested I consider a business degree to make your computer skills useful. I stopped sharing details, letting them assume I was drifting through college. It hurt, but it also freed me. Their doubt no longer defined me. Sarah Kim, my childhood friend, remained my anchor. Over milkshakes at a diner near Lake Washington, I'd pour out my frustrations. "They think I'm wasting my life, Sarah," I said one evening, my voice tight. She leaned forward, her gaze steady. "They're wrong, Emily. You're building something real. I see it, even if they don't." Sarah's belief, paired with Mia's partnership and Dr. Lynn's mentorship, gave me the courage to keep going. I started journaling again, not just ideas but affirmations. "Your worth isn't their approval. Your work matters." Those pages became my compass, guiding me through moments of self-doubt. By my senior year, I was no longer the girl who'd shrunk under her family's gaze. I was a leader, organizing coding workshops for freshmen and mentoring younger women in tech through the podcast. When I graduated with honors, my parents attended the ceremony, their applause polite but distant. They didn't know I'd already secured a patent for HealthSync's prototype or that Mia and I were planning to move to San Francisco to launch our startup. As I walked across the stage, diploma in hand, I felt a quiet triumph. I wasn't just choosing a career. I was choosing myself. My father, a cardiologist revered in Seattle's medical community, and my mother, a corporate lawyer who dominated courtrooms, saw my passion for coding as a childish detour from the path they'd paved, preferably to an Ivy League school and a career in law or medicine, like my brother Michael, who was already excelling in neurology. But I'd made a choice, one that felt like both a rebellion and a homecoming. Looking back, those college years were where I learned to trust my vision, to build a community that saw me for who I was. If you're reading this, standing at a crossroads where others' expectations threaten to drown your dreams, know this: your path doesn't need their map. Find the people who believe in your spark, your Mia, your Sarah, your Dr. Lynn. They're out there, waiting to help you shine. For me, that choice led to HealthSync, a company that would transform healthcare. But in those moments, it was enough to know I was enough. I rejected their blueprint and enrolled at UW's computer science program with a merit scholarship, trading their disappointment for a chance to become the person I knew I could be. That decision, made in the face of their skepticism, was the first step toward building HealthSync Solutions, the health tech company that would one day redefine my life. Leaving home was bittersweet. The night before I moved to campus, I sat in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by printouts of code and sketches of app ideas, my journal open to a page where I'd written, "You don't need their permission to shine." My parents' voices echoed in my mind, sharp and unrelenting. "You're throwing away your potential," my father had said, his brow furrowed as if my choice was a personal betrayal. "Computer science?" my mother had questioned, her tone rising. "That's not a field for someone of your intellect. You could get into Yale." Michael, home from Johns Hopkins, had tried to mediate in his well-meaning but patronizing way. "It's probably just a phase, Mom. Let her figure it out before she applies to law school." Their words stung, but they also clarified something. I wasn't running from their expectations. I was running toward my own. Stepping onto UW's campus felt like shedding a heavy coat. For the first time, I wasn't the daughter who'd failed to measure up. I was Emily, a student whose professors noticed her knack for solving complex coding problems with elegance and creativity. In my first semester, I took an introductory algorithms course that changed everything. Our professor, Dr. Lynn, challenged us to think beyond syntax, to see code as a tool for impact. "Emily, your approach to optimization is exceptional," she told me after I submitted a project that streamlined a mock hospital database. "Have you considered specializing in health tech?" Her encouragement was a balm to the wounds of my family's dismissal, a reminder that my dreams had a place in the world. It was at UW that I found my tribe. In my sophomore year, I met Mia Alvarez in an advanced programming class. Mia was a whirlwind of energy, her laptop covered in stickers advocating for healthcare reform, her passion rooted in her family's struggles with medical miscommunication. We bonded over a final project, tasked with building a data-sharing platform. While most teams struggled, Mia and I finished early, adding features like real-time alerts just for the thrill of it. Over late-night coffee at the campus cafe, we'd talk until closing, dreaming about technology's potential to fix broken systems. "The healthcare system is a mess," Mia said one night, her voice fierce. "My dad waited 6 months for a diagnosis because doctors couldn't share records. We could change that, Emily." That conversation wasn't just a spark, it was the ember that would ignite HealthSync solutions. The Mission District in San Francisco buzzed with life-colorful murals splashed across brick walls, the scent of fresh tamales drifting from corner taquerias, and the hum of dreamers chasing their next big idea. In the summer of 2013, I, Emily Carter, stood at the threshold of my own dream. A 22-year-old fresh out of the University of Washington, my heart pounding with equal parts fear and excitement. Our big break came in early 2014 at a startup pitch competition hosted by TechCrunch in San Francisco. Mia and I spent weeks preparing, practicing our pitch in front of our failure wall until we could recite it in our sleep. On the day of the event, I stood backstage at the Palace of Fine Arts, my palms sweaty, watching 20 other teams showcase their ideas. Our turn came, and Mia's passion lit up the room as she shared her father's story. I followed, explaining how HealthSync's interface cut data retrieval time by 70%. The judges, a panel of venture capitalists and tech execs, leaned forward, scribbling notes. When they announced us as winners, awarding $10,000 and a meeting with a VC firm, I grabbed Mia's hand, tears stinging my eyes. This wasn't just money, it was validation, a sign we were on the right path. That win changed everything. The prize money let us file a patent for HealthSync's core algorithm, a critical step to protect our idea. The VC meeting led to our first angel investor, a former hospital administrator named David Chen, who believed in our mission. "Your platform could save lives," he told us, writing a $50,000 check that felt like a fortune. With that, we incorporated HealthSync solutions, renting a corner desk at a co-working space in the Mission. Our first hire was a developer named Alex, a quiet genius who optimized our code faster than we'd thought possible. By mid-2014, we had a working beta, tested by a small clinic in Oakland. Their feedback, fewer errors, happier staff became our North Star. But the grind never stopped. Mia and I lived on instant noodles and adrenaline. Our days a blur of coding, pitching, and praying. Our bank account wouldn't hit zero. Doubt was a constant companion. Late one night, after a server crash wiped out a week's work, I sat on our apartment floor, head in my hands. "What if my parents were right?" I whispered. "What if this is a mistake?" Mia knelt beside me, her voice steady. "We're not here to prove them wrong, Emily. We're here to help people like my dad. Let's fix this and keep going." She taped a new post-it to the failure wall. "Server crash always back up twice." We laughed, then got back to work, our bond stronger than ever. My family remained a distant echo. During a rare call home, my mother asked, "How's your little project going?" Her tone implied she expected failure. "It's fine," I said, dodging details. I didn't tell her about the clinic's success or the investor meetings. Their disbelief had once cut deep, but now it was just noise. Sarah Kim, my childhood friend, was my anchor, cheering me on via texts from Seattle. "You're killing it, Em," she wrote, after I sent her a photo of our co-working desk. "Don't let your parents' crap get to you." Sarah's faith, Mia's partnership, and Priya's mentorship were my true family, the ones who saw what I was building. HealthSync's early success wasn't glamorous. Our beta launch revealed bugs we scrambled to fix, and some hospitals hesitated, wary of new tech. But every small win, a nurse thanking us for faster access to records, a doctor saying our system caught a medication error felt like a triumph. I started a habit of writing letters to my younger self, tucked into my journal. "You're enough, Emily. Keep building." Those letters grounded me, a reminder that this wasn't about fame or fortune, but impact. By 2015, HealthSync served 10 clinics, and we'd raised $200,000 in seed funding. We were still small, still scraping by, but we were real. The failure wall grew, not with despair, but with lessons that made us stronger. Looking back, those years were chaotic, exhausting, beautiful. They taught me that dreams are built one line of code, one rejection, one tiny victory at a time. Alongside my best friend and co-founder, Mia Alvarez, I'd moved into a cramped third-floor apartment on 24th Street. Its peeling paint and creaky floors a far cry from the polished Mercer Island home where I'd grown up. Back there, my parents, Dr. Henry Carter and Elizabeth Carter, still believed I was wasting my potential, chasing a tech fantasy while my brother, Michael, soared in neurology. If you're reading this, pouring your heart into something others don't understand, know this. Every struggle is a step towards something greater. Find your Mia, your Priya, your failure wall. For me, that was HealthSync, a vision born in a tiny apartment, destined to change lives. But back then, it was just us, two young women refusing to let go. They didn't know that Mia and I were building HealthSync Solutions, a platform to revolutionize healthcare communication. This was no fantasy. It was a mission born from struggle, grit, and a belief that we could make a difference. Those early days, filled with sleepless nights and relentless hope, were the crucible where HealthSync and my own resilience took shape. The idea for HealthSync had sparked back at UW during late-night coffee runs with Mia. Her father's misdiagnosis, a heart condition, missed because hospitals couldn't share record shad, left her family reeling. Over napkins scribbled with flowcharts, we envisioned a platform that let doctors access patient data instantly, reducing errors and saving lives. It was ambitious, maybe even reckless, for two college kids with no money and no connections. But Mia's fire and my stubborn determination made it feel possible. After graduating, we packed our lives into a U-Haul and headed to San Francisco, the heart of tech innovation, betting everything on our prototype. Our apartment became mission control laptops on a wobbly IKEA table, a whiteboard covered in code snippets, and a coffee maker that never stopped running. Money was tight. To pay the $1,800 rent, we took freelance coding gigs, building websites for local businesses. I'd code until my eyes burned, then collapse on a thrift store couch, dreaming of algorithms. Mia, ever the optimist, kept our spirits up, blasting salsa music when we hit roadblocks. We couldn't afford an office, so we worked from that apartment, its walls thin enough to hear our neighbors' arguments. To stay motivated, we created a failure wall, a corner where we pinned post. It notes with lessons from every setback. API crashed at 2 a.m. test edge cases first. Investor ghosted use refined pitch deck. Each note was a badge of survival, proof we were learning, growing, refusing to quit. San Francisco's tech scene was our lifeline. I joined a weekly meetup at a co-working space in Soma, a gritty mix of startups and dreamers. There, I met mentors like Priya Patel, a serial entrepreneur who'd sold her first company at 25. "Your platform's got legs, Emily," she told me after I demoed our prototype. "But you need to show traction. Get a pilot program running." Her advice was tough, but galvanizing, pushing us to refine HealthSync's core. A secure, cloud-based system that let hospitals share patient data in real time. Those meetups weren't just networking, they were a reminder that we weren't alone. Every founder there had faced rejection, doubt, and near failure. Their stories fueled me, echoing the resilience I'd learned back in Mercer Island, coding in secret while my family looked away. The Soma district of San Francisco pulsed with ambition. Its converted warehouses and sleek co-working spaces a hive of innovation, where dreamers like me, Emily Carter, dared to build something extraordinary. By 2016, at 25 years old, I stood at the helm of HealthSync Solutions, the health tech startup I'd co-founded with Mia Alvarez. Their words stung, but I'd learned to let them slide. I drove my beat-up college car, wore simple clothes, and let them believe I was still finding my way. It wasn't deceit, it was protection. HealthSync was my sanctuary, and I wasn't ready to let their doubt tarnish it. The real turning point came during a team-building retreat we organized in 2016 at a cabin in Lake Tahoe. After a year of relentless growth, Mia and I noticed tension in our team burnout from long hours, clashing ideas. We rented a rustic lodge, trading laptops for campfires and whiteboards for hiking trails. Over 3 days, we shared stories, not just of code but of why we were here. Alex, our first developer, spoke about his sister, a nurse who'd seen patients suffer from miscommunication. Our designer, Lena, shared her dream of making tech accessible to everyone. I opened up, not about my family, but about my fear of failing the people who believed in us. That vulnerability transformed us. We returned to San Francisco not just as colleagues but as a family, united by purpose. I realized then that leadership wasn't about being flawless, it was about being human, about trusting those around you. My best friend, Sarah Kim, was my anchor from afar. During a Skype call, I showed her our office, the view of San Francisco's skyline, a backdrop to our chaos. This is incredible," she said, her voice thick with pride. "Why don't you tell your parents?" I sighed, staring at a post-it on our failure wall. "Investor doubted scalability proved them wrong." "Because they won't get it, Sarah." "Not yet." She nodded, understanding. "You're doing this for you, not them. Keep going." Sarah's belief, paired with Mia's relentless optimism, kept me grounded. Mia, ever the heart of our operation, would blast music when we hit milestones, turning our office into a dance floor. Those moments of laughter, of shared purpose, were what kept us going. HealthSync's growth wasn't just numbers. By 2017, we served 250 hospitals, our platform reducing patient wait times by 30% and earning mentions in medical journals. I'd walk into meetings with hospital CEOs, my age a stark contrast to their decades of experience, yet they listened, captivated by our results. Still, I kept my profile low. Press releases listed me as Emily, co-founder, with no last name, no photo. Industry blogs called me the ghost founder, a nickname I secretly loved. It wasn't about hiding, it was about control. I wanted HealthSync's impact to speak before my name did. The emotional weight of silence wasn't easy. Some nights, I'd lie awake in my tiny San Francisco apartment, wondering if I was foolish to keep this from my family. My journal, filled with letters to my younger self, became my refuge. "You're building something that matters, Emily. Their doubt doesn't define you." Therapy helped too. My therapist, Dr. Wynn, asked, "Why do you protect HealthSync from them?" I thought for a long moment. "Because it's mine. If they dismiss it, it'll hurt more than their silence does now." She nodded. "Then keep building until you're ready. That's your power." The blog, the retreat, the late nights, they were all part of a quiet empire. One I built not for applause, but for impact. HealthSync wasn't just a company. It was my proof that I could create something meaningful, even if my family saw me as a failure. I thought of the teens I'd started mentoring at a San Francisco community center, teaching them to code, to dream big despite their circumstances. Their wide-eyed excitement reminded me of myself at 14, coding in my Mercer Island bedroom. What had begun in a cramped Mission District apartment was now a growing force, serving 250 hospitals and employing 40 people in a modest office overlooking Howard Street. Our platform, designed to streamline patient data and reduce medical errors, was saving lives-cutting hospital mistakes by 50% in our partner facilities. Yet, back in Mercer Island, my family, my father, doctor, if I could give them one thing, it was this: your worth isn't in who sees you. It's in what you build, who you help, and the fire that keeps you going. Looking back, those years of silence were my greatest teacher. They taught me that success doesn't need a spotlight to be real. If you're reading this, pouring your heart into a dream others can't see, know this: your work is enough. Find your team, your retreat, your journal. For me, it was HealthSync, a company that started with 2 dreamers and a mission to save lives. But back then, it was just us, building in silence, trusting that one day, the world would hear us. Henry Carter, a renowned cardiologist, my mother, Elizabeth Carter, a formidable corporate lawyer, and my brother, Michael, a rising neurologist, still saw me as the daughter dabbling in a dead-end tech job. I chose to keep my success a secret, not out of shame, but to protect something sacred. HealthSync was mine, built without their validation, and that silence was my strength. This was the chapter of my life where I learned that true power lies not in shouting your achievements, but in letting your work speak for itself. Our Soma office was a far cry from the glitzy tech campuses of Silicon Valley. The exposed brick walls and mismatched furniture told a story of scrappy determination. Mia and I shared a single desk at first. Our team, a tight-knit crew of developers, designers, and dreamers who believed in our mission. Every morning, I'd walk through those doors, the hum of keyboards and laughter grounding me. We'd raised $7 million in venture capital, a milestone that felt surreal after years of scraping by on freelance gigs and instant noodles. But success didn't erase the grind. We worked 14-hour days, fixing bugs, pitching to hospitals, and praying our servers wouldn't crash during a demo. Each contract with clinics in Portland, Denver, and Chicago felt like a small miracle, proof that our vision was real. To cope with the pressure, I started an anonymous blog called The Silent Founder. Hidden behind a pseudonym, I wrote about the challenges of leading a startup imposter syndrome, the weight of payroll, the thrill of a hospital reporting better patient outcomes because of our platform. The blog wasn't for fame. It was a release. A way to process the isolation of building something no one in my family understood. Readers, mostly young entrepreneurs, left comments that became a lifeline. "Your post about failing forward saved me today," one wrote. I read it in the quiet of our office, tears in my eyes, knowing I wasn't alone. The blog was my way of giving back, sharing wisdom without revealing my identity. A nod to the girl who'd once coded in secret to escape her family's judgment. My family's assumptions were a constant shadow. During a Thanksgiving visit to Mercer Island, my mother cornered me in the kitchen, her voice gentle but pointed. "Emily, have you thought about a stable job? Michael knows someone at a tech support firm. It's a good start." I smiled, deflecting. "I'm okay, Mom. My work's going well." She nodded, unconvinced, assuming well meant scraping by. My father, overhearing, added, "You're smart, Emily. Don't settle for something small." The Boston skyline shimmered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Meditech Innovations headquarters, a sleek glass tower in the Seaport district that radiated power and possibility. It was the spring of 2018, and I, Emily Carter, stood at a crossroads that felt both exhilarating and daunting. What's the right choice? The words grounded me, a reminder that HealthSync wasn't just a company, it was a promise to patients, to nurses, to families like Mia's. "Mia, ever my compass," echoed this over coffee the next morning. "Money's nice," she said, "but if we lose our soul, what's the point?" We agreed. Any deal had to preserve HealthSync's mission. To clear our heads, we leaned into a pro bono project we'd started months earlier, integrating HealthSync into rural clinics in California's Central Valley. These clinics, underfunded and overstretched, faced the same communication failures as big hospitals but with fewer resources. Driving to Fresno, we met a nurse named Carla, who shared stories of patients lost to preventable errors. "Your system gave us back time to care," she told us, her voice thick with gratitude. That day, as we watched Carla use HealthSync to access a patient's records in seconds, I felt a clarity that no boardroom could offer. This was why we'd started, and no dollar amount could outweigh it. The negotiations stretched over weeks, a dance of emails, calls, and tense meetings. Meditech's initial offer was generous but controlling, demanding we cede our codebase and leadership roles. I thought of my parents, who'd once called my work a hobby, and how their doubt had fueled my resolve. I wasn't here to hand over what I'd built. Mia and I countered with a $30 million minority stake deal, valuing HealthSync at $150 million and keeping us at the helm. Lauren, to her credit, listened, her team adjusting terms to meet us halfway. By June, we had a deal. $30 million for a 20% stake, with guarantees of autonomy. It wasn't the full acquisition they'd wanted, but it gave us capital to scale without losing our voice. The emotional toll was heavy. Some nights I'd lie awake, questioning if we'd made the right call. My therapist, Dr. Nguyen, helped me unpack it. "Why does this feel so hard?" she asked. I hesitated. "Because it's bigger than me now. It's about our team, our users, the clinics like Carla's. Saying yes or no, feels like deciding their future. Dr. Nguyen nodded. That's leadership, Emily. Carrying that weight with integrity. Her words stayed with me, a reminder that ambition wasn't about glory, it was about responsibility. My family remained oblivious. During a call home, my mother asked, "Are you still doing that computer thing?" Her tone implied failure. "It's going well," I said, keeping it vague. I didn't mention the $7 million we'd already raised or the 300 hospitals using HealthSync. Their ignorance was a shield, protecting my work from their judgment. Sarah Kim, my best friend, was my confidant. Over a video call, I shared the acquisition talks. "Em, you're a freaking rock star," she said, her Seattle apartment cozy in the background. "Why don't you tell them?" I shook my head. "Not yet. This is mine." Sarah smiled. "You're gonna blow their minds one day." The deal's press release was carefully worded, listing me as Emily, co-founder, no last name, no photo. My blog, The Silent Founder, became a place to process the whirlwind, my anonymous posts about balancing growth and values resonating with readers worldwide. Comments poured in. "Your story keeps me going." I read them in our office, the San Francisco skyline glittering outside, feeling connected to a community I'd never met. At 27, I was the co-founder and CEO of HealthSync Solutions, a health tech company that had grown from a dream in a San Francisco apartment to a force serving 300 hospitals, reducing medical errors by 50%, and employing 80 people. Mia Alvarez, my partner and the heart of our mission, stood beside me as we faced a life-altering decision. Meditech, a giant in healthcare software, had offered to acquire HealthSync for $250 million. Accepting the deal was a leap of faith, but it felt right. The $30 million let us hire more developers, expand to rural clinics, and dream bigger. I thought of the teens I mentored at a San Francisco community center, their eyes bright as they coded their first apps. If I could show them that integrity and ambition could coexist, that was a legacy worth building. Looking back, that spring was a crucible, teaching me that true success isn't a paycheck, it's staying true to why you started. If you're reading this, facing a choice between easy and right, know this: your values are your compass. Trust them. For me, it was HealthSync, a mission that began with 2 dreamers and grew into a movement. But back then, it was just us, holding fast to our purpose, ready for whatever came next. The number was staggering, a testament to our years of grit, but it came with strings that tested our values, our vision, and the legacy we wanted to leave. Back in Mercer Island, my parents' doctor, Henry Carter and Elizabeth Carter, and my brother, Michael, still believed I was toiling in a low-level tech job, unaware of the empire I'd built in silence. This moment, poised between financial security and staying true to our purpose, was where I learned that true ambition isn't about the money, but about the mark you leave on the world. The offer arrived on a rainy Tuesday, the email landing in my inbox like a thunderclap. I read it twice, my pulse racing, before calling Mia into our Soma office, where the hum of our team's work filled the air. $250 million, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Mia's eyes widened, but her expression quickly shifted to caution. "That's life-changing, Emily. But what do they want in return?" We knew the stakes. An acquisition could amplify HealthSync's reach, bringing our platform to millions more patients. But it could also mean losing control, diluting the mission that had driven us since our college days at the University of Washington. We'd built HealthSync to fix a broken healthcare system, inspired by Mia's father's misdiagnosis, and every decision had to honor that. The negotiations began in Boston, a city as storied as San Francisco but with a sharper edge. Meditech's conference room was a study in corporate polished mahogany tables, leather chairs, and executives twice our age who spoke in clipped, confident tones. Their lead negotiator was Lauren Hayes, a name I didn't yet connect to my brother's fiancée. Lauren's presence was commanding, her questions incisive as she probed HealthSync's scalability and impact. "Your platform's error reduction stats are unmatched," she said, her gaze steady. "But we'd need full integration into our ecosystem. That means your team reports to us." I exchanged a glance with Mia. Full integration sounded like a takeover, not a partnership. We pushed back, proposing a partial stake deal that let us retain creative control. Lauren nodded, scribbling notes, unaware that in weeks we'd meet again under very different circumstances. Back in San Francisco, the weight of the decision pressed on us. Late one night, in our office's quiet corner, I opened my journal, a habit I'd kept since college. Instead of logging code or ideas, I wrote letters to my younger self, the girl who'd coded in her Mercer Island bedroom while her family dismissed her dreams. Dear Emily, I wrote, you built this to help people, not to cash out. The herb farm in Woodinville, Washington, was a vision of elegance, its warm chandeliers casting a golden glow over tables, set with fine china and bouquets of wildflowers. The scent of roasted lavender and fresh sourdough filled the air, mingling with the soft hum of anticipation. It was the summer of 2018, and I, Emily Carter, stood at the entrance of the private dining room, my heart steady but alive, with a quiet intensity. The first coarse herb-crusted salmon arrived, and the table hummed with chatter. Aunt Clara leaned in, her voice soft with pity. So, Emily, how's your tech job going? Is it stable? I smiled, keeping it vague. I work in health tech. Data systems, mostly. It was true, but it buried the truth. HealthSync had cut medication errors by 60% at partner hospitals. My uncle chimed in, loud enough for others to hear. Emily, Michael mentioned a tech support opening at Amazon. Could be a good move for you. I sipped my water, steady. I'm happy where I am, thanks. My father, overhearing, added, there's no shame in taking help to get a real start, Emily. We just want you to succeed. Then, like a spark igniting dry grass, Lauren's voice cut through. Emily, is your last name Carter? The table stilled. Michael frowned. Of course. She's my sister. Lauren's eyes widened, realization dawning. You're Emily Carter, from HealthSync Solutions. The words landed like a quiet explosion, the air thick with their weight. I met her gaze, calm but resolute. Yes, I said, my voice steady. Lauren set her fork down, the clink against the china impossibly loud. You're the founder? The co-founder of HealthSync? The platform that's revolutionized patient care? We're in final talks to acquire you for $250 million. The silence was absolute. My father's glass froze midair, his face a mask of shock. My mother's hand clutched her pearls, her composure unraveling. Michael's jaw dropped, his confident smirk replaced by confusion. Is this true? My father asked, his voice faint. I nodded. Mia Alvarez and I started HealthSync 6 years ago. We employ 80 people and serve over 300 hospitals. Lauren, her professional poise giving way to awe, turned to the table. Their system reduced errors at Boston Medical by 60% in a year. It's why we're paying a premium. She looked at me, almost sheepish. I had no idea you were Michael's sister. Your profile just says Emily, no photo. I smiled faintly. I prefer a low profile. The room erupted. My mother stammered. Why didn't you tell us? My uncle, who'd pitied me moments ago, asked about stock options. Michael laughed nervously. Lauren, you've got the wrong person. Emily's in, like IT or something. Lauren shook her head. No, Michael. Your sister's a visionary. The ghost founder everyone in health tech talks about. To break the tension, I stood, raising my glass. To Michael and Lauren, I said, my voice clear but warm. May your partnership be as strong as the dreams you chase. The toast was my quiet assertion, not of victory, but of dignity. The rest of the dinner blurred shocked questions, relatives rewriting history to claim they'd always believed in me. My mother insisted she'd known I had a knack for computers. My father claimed he'd bragged about my tech career to colleagues. Michael stayed quiet, his expression a mix of awe and disbelief. Through it all, I remained composed, answering politely but without the desperation for approval I'd once felt. This wasn't the validation I'd craved as a teenager, it was something deeper, a confirmation of my own truth. At 27, I was the co-founder of HealthSync Solutions, a health tech company that had grown from a college dream to a powerhouse serving 300 hospitals, now on the cusp of a $250 million acquisition by Meditech Innovations. Yet, my family, my father, Dr. Henry Carter, a celebrated cardiologist, my mother, Elizabeth Carter, a formidable corporate lawyer, and my brother, Michael, a rising neurologist, knew none of this. As the evening ended, Lauren pulled me aside, the Seattle skyline a quiet backdrop. "I'm sorry if I blindsided you," she said. "I was just stunned." I smiled, genuine. "Don't apologize." "It was time. For what it's worth," she added, "your work is extraordinary. You're changing lives." I nodded, gratitude swelling. Walking to my car, the cool Washington air brushing my skin, I felt lighter. The secret I'd carried for years was out. I thought of the teens I mentored, the hospitals we'd helped, the letters I wrote to my younger self. "You are enough." That night, I knew it was true. If you're reading this, chasing a dream others can't see, know this: your moment will come, not because they see you, but because you see yourself. Keep building. Keep believing. For me, it was HealthSync, a quiet empire that spoke louder than words. But that night, it was just me, standing tall, ready for whatever came next. They saw me as the daughter who'd chosen a lesser path, tinkering with computers while Michael shone. Tonight, at his engagement dinner to Lauren Hayes, that illusion would shatter in a moment that felt both inevitable and surreal, a reckoning I'd neither sought nor avoided. Before arriving, I'd driven to Juanita Bay Wetlands, a serene park near Seattle where I often went to clear my mind. Sitting on a bench, watching herons glide over the water, I practiced the meditation that had become my anchor over the years. "Breathe in purpose, breathe out doubt," I whispered, grounding myself for whatever lay ahead. I'd spent years building HealthSync in silence, not for their approval, but for the patients we served and the teens I mentored in coding at San Francisco's community centers. This dinner wasn't about proving them wrong, it was about being true to myself. I slipped into a simple black dress, elegant but understated, and headed to the herb farm, ready to face my family on my terms. The dining room buzzed with familiar faces. My mother fussed over place cards, her lawyer's precision ensuring optimal social dynamics. My father stood by the bar, deep in conversation with a man I assumed was Lauren's father, his laughter warm but reserved for Michael's milestones. Michael spotted me first, crossing the room with a smile tinged with his usual condescension. "Emily, you made it," he said, pulling me into a quick hug. "Come meet Lauren." She stood by the window, the Seattle skyline twinkling behind her, her burgundy gown a striking contrast to her poised confidence. Lauren Hayes, I'd later learn, was Meditech's director of acquisitions, but in that moment, she was just my brother's fiancée, her handshake warm and her smile genuine. "It's so great to meet you, Emily," she said. "Michael's told me all about you." I wondered what version of me he'd described the struggling tech worker, not the CEO. My mother appeared, her tone polite but sharp. "Emily, you look nice," she said, pausing as if expecting more. "We've put you next to Aunt Clara, she's always fond of you." The subtext was clear. I was sidelined, far from the important guests. I nodded, unfazed. I'd learned long ago that their seating charts didn't measure my worth. As dinner began, champagne flutes clinked with toasts. My father raised his glass, his voice thick with pride. "To Michael, who's made us proud every day, and to Lauren, a brilliant addition to our family." My mother followed, her toast a polished recounting of Michael's journey from valedictorian to chief resident. "To a couple dedicated to excellence," she concluded. I raised my glass, catching Lauren's gaze, her brow slightly furrowed, as if piecing together a puzzle. The dining room at Canlis, perched on a Seattle hillside with sweeping views of Lake Union, was a haven of understated elegance's soft lighting, cedar-paneled walls, and floor-to-ceiling windows that framed the city's twinkling skyline. It was a crisp autumn morning in 2018, weeks after the revelation at my brother Michael's engagement dinner, and I, Emily Carter, sat across from my parents, Dr. Henry Carter and Elizabeth Carter, for a brunch that felt like stepping onto unsteady ground. To move forward, I'd initiated a family therapy session the week prior, a bold step, suggested by my therapist, Dr. Nguyen. In a neutral office in downtown Seattle, we'd sat with a counselor, Dr. Ellis, who guided us through the tension. My parents struggled, my father claiming he'd always seen my hidden spark, my mother insisting their pressure was love. I spoke of the pain of being unseen, of coding in my Mercer Island bedroom to escape their judgment. Michael, present for that session, listened quietly, his usual confidence subdued. Dr. Ellis's question lingered. What do you want this relationship to be now? I'd answered honestly. I want respect, not revisionist history. That session wasn't a cure, but it was a start, a framework for the brunch at Canlis. My parents tried to rewrite the narrative. We're so proud, Emily, my mother said, her tone earnest but tinged with opportunism. I read about HealthSync's Innovation Awards. Why hide that from us? My father nodded. I told colleagues my daughter's a tech entrepreneur. The claim stung. They'd never said that before Lauren's revelation. I held my ground. Dad, do you remember suggesting I take a hospital admin job 3 years ago? Mom, you offered me a tech support interview last month. That's not pride. That's pity. My mother flushed, embarrassed. We were worried, she admitted. We didn't understand. I softened, but only slightly. I know you love me, but love without understanding isn't enough. I needed you to see me for who I am. The conversation wasn't easy, but it was real. My parents oscillated between defensiveness and tentative olive branches. My father asked about HealthSync's platform, his questions halting but genuine. My mother admitted she'd never grasped technology, a small concession. We parted with plans for another dinner, a fragile step toward something new. Back in San Francisco, I leaned on Mia Alvarez, my co-founder, and Sarah Kim, my best friend, to process it. Sarah, over a call, was indignant. They're acting like they always knew, she said. I laughed, bittersweet. They're trying, Sarah. That's something. Michael's transformation was the most unexpected. He showed up at my San Francisco apartment one evening, unannounced, carrying a bottle of Washington Syra. I brought wine, he said, awkward but earnest. Figured we'd need it. My sleek loft, with its view of the Bay Bridge, was a stark contrast to the struggling image he'd held of me. Nice place, he said, looking around. Really nice. We sat in my living room, the city lights a quiet backdrop, and he spoke plainly. I've been a jerk, Emily. I bought into the idea that you were lost, that I was the successful one. I never asked about your work, not really. His honesty disarmed me. I expected excuses, not accountability. You liked being the golden child, I said, not unkindly. He nodded, swirling his wine. It was easy. I'm sorry, and I'm proud of you. HealthSync's incredible. Lauren can't stop talking about it. To bridge the gap, I gave Michael a gift, a HealthSync subscription for his Seattle hospital, free for a year. It's not charity, I told him. It's a chance to work together. He accepted, his gratitude genuine, and we talked for hours about his patients, my platform, our shared drive to improve healthcare. It was the first time we'd connected as equals, not rivals. Lauren, too, became a bridge, her dual role as fiancée and colleague offering perspective. Over coffee in Soma, she said, Your parents are learning, Emily. They just don't know the language of your success yet. Her support, alongside Michael's, eased the transition. At 27, I was the co-founder of HealthSync Solutions, a health tech company that had transformed patient care across 300 hospitals and was finalizing a $250 million acquisition by Meditech Innovations. The secret I'd guarded for years had been laid bare when Lauren Hayes, Michael's fiancée and Meditech's acquisition lead, recognized me as HealthSync's founder. Reconciliation wasn't a tidy resolution. There were awkward moments, my father offering unsolicited business advice, my mother asking if I was eating enough despite my CEO schedule. But there were glimmers of change. My father attended a HealthSync demo, listening intently as I explained our impact. My mother sent a hesitant text. I'm reading about startups. It's fascinating. Small steps, but meaningful. In therapy, I processed the complexity with Dr. Nguyen. You're letting them in, she noted, but on your terms. That's strength. Looking back, that autumn taught me that family can evolve, but only if you hold your truth steady. If you're reading this, navigating a fractured bond, know this. Healing starts with honesty, not perfection. Set your boundaries, speak your heart, and let time do the rest. For me, it was HealthSync, a mission that gave me the courage to face my family. But that season, it was just us, learning to see each other anew. My family's shock me father's stunned silence, my mother's faltering composure. Michael's disbelief had shifted our dynamic, but not healed it. This brunch, and the weeks that followed, was where I faced the messy human work of rebuilding relationships, learning that reconciliation isn't about erasing the past, but about building a future with boundaries, honesty, and hope. The morning began with a quiet ritual. I'd driven to Gasworks Park, a Seattle landmark where rusted industrial relics met grassy hills, and sat by the water, journaling a letter to my younger self. You don't need their approval, but you can choose to meet them halfway. The practice, honed over years of building HealthSync in San Francisco's Soma district, steadied me. I wasn't here to prove myself. I'd done that with every hospital we'd helped, every teen I'd mentored in coding. I was here to see if we could find common ground. At Canlis, my parents were already seated, their postures formal, as if this were a negotiation rather than a family meal. My father stood, his greeting an awkward half-hug, caught between pride and uncertainty. "Emily, you look well," he said. My mother, her lawyer's poise intact, smiled tightly. "We have so much to discuss, darling." I nodded, taking my seat, the weight of years between us palpable. Over coffee and Dungeness crab omelets, I spoke first, my voice calm but firm. "I need you to understand why I didn't tell you about HealthSync. You never saw my work as real. Every time I tried to share, it was dismissed as a hobby, something to outgrow." My mother's eyes flickered with defensiveness. "That's not fair, Emily. We always wanted the best for you. Technology seemed so unstable." I met her gaze. "What you wanted was for me to fit your version of success. When I chose differently, you treated it as failure." My father leaned forward, his cardiologist's authority surfacing. "We knew you had potential, Emily. We pushed you to aim higher." I shook my head. "You pushed me to conform. There's a difference." The words hung heavy, but they were necessary. I recounted moments my budgeting app at 14, dismissed as a distraction. My coding competition win, overshadowed by Michael's medical school party. Their insistence I pursue law, despite my scholarship to UW's computer science program. My mother's composure wavered, her hand tightening around her coffee cup. "We didn't know," she said, her voice softer. "You never shared details." I took a breath. "You didn't ask. Not with curiosity, not with respect. You assumed I was failing because my path wasn't yours." The silence that followed was raw, a space where truth settled like dust. The new HealthSync Solutions headquarters in Seattle's Pioneer Square was a testament to what we'd built, a modern space of glass and reclaimed wood, where the hum of collaboration echoed through open workstations and the Puget Sound sparkled beyond wide windows. It was early 2019, and I, Emily Carter, stood at the heart of it, no longer the silent founder who'd hidden her success from a doubting family. Giving back became my anchor. Inspired by my mentor, Miss Thompson, from my Mercer Island library days, I launched the Carter STEM Scholarship, a fund for low-income students pursuing tech degrees. The first recipients, announced at a small ceremony in Seattle, included a 17-year-old girl who'd coded a health app for her community clinic. Meeting her, I saw myself hungry, determined, unseen. "Keep building," I told her, handing her a check for $10,000. "The world will catch up." The scholarship wasn't just financial aid. It was a promise to lift others as I'd been lifted by Miss Thompson, Mia, and Sarah Kim. Balancing leadership with well-being was new territory. The startup grind had left little room for self-care, but post-acquisition, I prioritized it. I joined a weekly yoga class in Pioneer Square, the slow stretches a counterpoint to HealthSync's fast pace. Each session ended with a meditation, where I'd reflect on my journaled letters to my younger self. "You're enough, Emily. Rest is strength. Therapy with Dr. Nguyen continued, helping me navigate the shift from silence to spotlight. You've protected yourself for so long, she said. It's okay to let those walls down, to trust this new phase. I was learning, slowly, to embrace vulnerability without losing my core. Mentoring became my passion. I expanded my coding workshops for high school girls, hosting monthly sessions at HealthSync's office. One Saturday, a 15-year-old named Aisha shared her app idea tool to track mental health resources. My parents want me to be a doctor, she said, echoing my own past. But I love this. I knelt beside her. What do you want? I asked. To make a difference, she replied. Then do it, I said, sharing resources and my story. Find your people, even if they're not your family. Those workshops weren't just teaching code, they were building resilience, a legacy I hoped would outlast me. My family's evolving dynamic was a quiet undercurrent. After our canless brunch and therapy sessions, my parents were trying, if imperfectly. My father visited HealthSync's office, his questions about our platform hesitant but earnest. My mother sent articles she'd read about tech startups, her way of bridging the gap. Michael, now a HealthSync user at his Seattle hospital, called to share data. Our error rates dropped 40% since we started. It's saving lives, Em. His pride, once unthinkable, warmed me. Lauren, both sister-in-law-to-be and colleague, became a friend, her insights into my family's blind spots invaluable. They're learning, she told me over coffee in Soma. Give them time. Stepping into the light wasn't without challenges. Public scrutiny brought pressure. Industry blogs speculated about HealthSync's future, and imposter syndrome whispered in quiet moments. But I leaned on my team, my mentors, and Sarah, who texted from Seattle. You're a badass, Em. Own it. Mia, ever my partner, kept me grounded, her laughter a reminder of our scrappy beginnings. We'd review the failure wall, now a museum of our growth, and plan HealthSync's global expansion, from London to Mumbai. Each step felt like honoring the girl who'd coded in secret, the teens I mentored, the patients we served. At 28, I was the co-founder and CEO of a health tech company that served over 400 hospitals, reducing medical errors by 60% and transforming patient care. The $250 million acquisition by Meditech Innovations, finalized months ago, had elevated HealthSync to a global stage, and with it, me from the ghost founder to a recognized leader. Back in Mercer Island, my parents, doctor, the keynote, the scholarship, the yoga they were all part of a new rhythm, one where I led with purpose and lived with balance. I thought of my blog, The Silent Founder, now public under my name. Its readers, a community of dreamers I'd never met, but felt deeply. Their comments, your story gives me hope, fueled me. If you're reading this, hiding your light because it's safer, know this: you don't need permission to shine. Step forward, not for others, but for you. Share your gifts, they're needed. For me, it was HealthSync, a mission that grew from a whisper to a roar. But in 2019, it was just me, standing in my office, the Seattle rain falling softly, knowing I'd found my place in the world. Henry Carter and Elizabeth Carter, and my brother Michael, were learning to see me anew after Lauren Hayes, Michael's fiancée, revealed my identity at their engagement dinner. This chapter of my life wasn't just about public recognition. It was about embracing my truth, balancing leadership with well-being, and giving back to those who reminded me of my younger self. Stepping into the light meant owning my journey, not for applause, but to inspire others to shine. Pioneer Square, with its historic brick buildings and bustling tech scene, felt like the perfect home for HealthSync's next phase. Our new office was a far cry from the cramped San Francisco apartment where Mia Alvarez and I had started, or the Soma co-working desk we'd once shared. Walking through the space, I'd pause at the failure wall we'd recreated a display of post. It notes from our early days, each a lesson from setbacks that had shaped us. It was a reminder of our roots, grounding me as HealthSync grew. The acquisition had made Mia and me centimillionaires on paper, but I hadn't changed my lifestyle much. My Seattle condo, with its minimalist decor and view of Elliott Bay, was comfortable but unflashy. I still drove my old college car when visiting Mercer Island, a quiet rebellion against the need to prove anything. Public recognition came swiftly after the acquisition. Forbes reached out for an interview, their team intrigued by the ghost founder, who'd built a health tech empire in silence. I hesitated. Years of anonymity had been my shield, but Mia urged me forward. "You've earned this, Emily," she said, her eyes bright. "Let the world see you." The photo shoot took place in our office, my silhouette against the Seattle skyline, a nod to my elusive past. The article, titled "The Ghost Founder Steps Forward," praised HealthSync's impact and my leadership, calling me a visionary who'd redefined healthcare. Reading it, I felt a mix of pride and vulnerability. For so long, I'd let my work speak. Now, my name was part of the story. Embracing visibility wasn't just about media. I accepted an invitation to deliver a keynote at the TechCrunch Disrupt conference in San Francisco, a stage I'd once watched as a starry-eyed college student. Standing before thousands, I shared HealthSync's journey, not just the wins, but the doubts, the late nights, the family who'd dismissed my dreams. My voice trembled as I spoke of the teens I mentored at a San Francisco community center. Their coding projects a mirror of my own at 14. Success isn't about recognition, I told the crowd. It's about impact, about building something that matters, even when no one believes in you. The applause was overwhelming, but the real reward came later, when a young woman approached me, tears in her eyes. "Your story made me believe I can keep going," she said. That moment was worth more than any headline. The floor-to-ceiling windows of my waterfront condo in Seattle's Belltown framed a breathtaking view of Puget Sound, where ferries glided across the water and the Olympic Mountains stood sentinel under a soft spring sky. It was 2019, and I, Emily Carter, stood in my kitchen, preparing for a family dinner that felt like a miracle, a gathering of my parents, Dr. Henry Carter and Elizabeth Carter, my brother, Michael, and his fiancée, Lauren Hayes, in a home I'd built with the fruits of my labor. Over dinner, conversation flowed. Michael shared hospital stories. Lauren discussed Meditech's latest project, and my parents asked about HealthSync's global reach. "Mom's reading startup books," Michael teased, spotting "The Lean Startup" on her Kindle. "Better late than never," I replied. No bitterness, just truth. Lauren's question, asked as we sipped wine, caught me off guard. "Do you ever wish they'd seen your potential sooner?" I paused, the city lights reflecting on the sound. "Sometimes," I said. "It would have been easier. But their doubt taught me to believe in myself when no one else did. That's my foundation." Michael nodded, his self-awareness new. "If they'd cheered you on, I might have been even more insufferable," he said. We laughed, the sound carrying a healing lightness. This ease was hard-won. My parents still slipped, my father offering business tips, my mother fretting about my schedule, but boundaries held. Our weekly calls, once evasive, were now real, if imperfect. My mother's visit to HealthSync's Pioneer Square office, where she saw employees greet me with respect, had shifted her perspective. My father's pride in Michael's use of HealthSync at his hospital was a quiet acknowledgement of my work. Lauren, both colleague and sister-in-law-to-be, was a gift, her insights into my parents' insecurities, Henry's fear of the unknown, Elizabeth's need for control helping me forgive without forgetting. Beyond family, I'd launched the Resilient Founders Initiative, an online platform for underrepresented entrepreneurs to share stories, resources, and mentorship. Inspired by my blog, The Silent Founder, it was my way to amplify voices like mind dreamers dismissed by those closest to them. The platform's launch event, held virtually, drew thousands, with comments flooding in. "Your story gave me courage." I moderated forums, connecting a single mother in Detroit to a mentor in Austin, a queer coder in Miami to funding in Seattle. This community was my chosen family, alongside Mia, Sarah, Kim, and the teens I mentored, a reminder that impact ripples outward. Sarah, my rock since Mercer Island, visited last week, marveling at my condo. "You did this, Em," she said, hugging me. "From that library database to this." Her belief, unwavering through years of my family's doubt, was a thread in my story. Mia, too, was my constant, her laughter filling our office as we planned HealthSync's future. We'd review our failure wall, now a relic of our Soma days, and dream of new ways to serve, perhaps a free app for patients in underserved areas. These relationships, forged in struggle, were my true wealth. As Dessert Michael's surprisingly edible pea ended, I reflected on success. It wasn't the acquisition, the headlines, or even my family's newfound respect. It was self-validation, the quiet certainty I'd earned through every line of code, every hospital helped, every student lifted. I'd once craved their approval, but I'd found something better. Peace in my purpose. If I could go back, I told Lauren, I wouldn't change the pain. It made me who I am. She smiled, squeezing my hand. You're unstoppable, Emily. At 28, I was no longer the silent founder who'd hidden her success, but the co-founder and CEO of HealthSync Solutions, a health tech company that had transformed patient care across 400 hospitals and secured a $250 million acquisition by Meditech Innovations. The revelation at Michael's engagement dinner, where Lauren recognized me as HealthSync's visionary, had shifted my family's perception, leading to months of reconciliation and growth. If you're reading this, chasing a dream others can't see, know this: success is yours to define. It's in the lives you touch, the truths you hold, the courage to keep going. Share your story on Resilient Founders in your community with someone who needs it. Your voice matters. For me, it was HealthSync, a mission born in a teenager's bedroom, now saving lives worldwide. But tonight, it was just us family, chosen and given, gathered around a table, laughing under the Seattle stars. I stepped onto my balcony, the night air cool, and looked out at the city. Gratitude filled me for Mia's partnership, Sarah's faith, Lauren's bridge, my parents' slow growth, and the journey that had shaped me. Success wasn't a destination. It was this moment, this life, this purpose, and it was enough. This dinner, filled with laughter and warmth, was a testament to how far we'd come. But more than that, it was a moment to reflect on a truth I'd learned through years of doubt and triumph. Success isn't measured by recognition, but by the impact you create and the peace you find within. This was my new definition of successity I hoped to share with the world. The condo smelled of roasted vegetables and fresh rosemary, a simple meal I'd prepared with care. As I set the table, I paused. My journal opened to a new entry knot, a letter to my younger self, as I'd written for years, but to my future self. Dear Emily, keep building, keep giving, keep believing in the quiet power of your purpose. The practice, born in my San Francisco startup days, had evolved, guiding me through HealthSync's growth and my family's transformation. Tonight's dinner was a milestone, but it was also a reminder of the journey from a Mercer Island teenager coding in secret, dismissed by my cardiologist father and lawyer mother, to a leader shaping healthcare and inspiring others. The past year had been a whirlwind. Leading HealthSync's innovation division at Meditech, I oversaw our platform's expansion to hospitals in London, Mumbai, and Sydney, with Mia Alvarez heading international operations. Our work reduced patient wait times by 35% globally, a statistic that grounded me when fame or pressure loomed. The Forbes feature and TechCrunch keynote had thrust me into the spotlight, but I'd balanced it with yoga in Pioneer Square and therapy with Dr. Nguyen, who helped me navigate the shift from silence to visibility. My Carter STEM scholarship, funding low-income tech students, had grown, supporting 20 young women like Aisha, whose mental health app was now in beta. These efforts weren't just work, they were my legacy, a way to honor the girl who'd dreamed big despite her family's doubt. My family's presence tonight felt surreal. A year ago, our dinners in Mercer Island were tense, my parents' questions about my tech job laced with pity, Michael's achievements dominating the conversation. The revelation at the herb farm, where Lauren declared HealthSync's $250 million value, had forced a reckoning. Through therapy, honest talks at Canlis, and Michael's gift of a HealthSync subscription for his hospital, we'd built something new. As they arrived, Michael carried a bakery box emergency cupcakes. He grinned, admitting his homemade pie had burned. Lauren brought a bottle of Washington Riesling, her warmth a bridge between our worlds. My parents, once rigid, hugged me, my mother's eyes soft. "This place is beautiful, Emily," she said, a far cry from her old critiques of my collegiate style. The story of Emily Carter is a tapestry woven from resilience, quiet rebellion, and an unwavering belief in her own worth, a journey that began in the shadow of expectation and ended in the light of self-defined success. Born into the high-achieving Carter family in Mercer Island, a pristine Seattle suburb, Emily grew up under the weight of her parents' ambitions. Her father, Dr. The truth unraveled at Michael's engagement dinner at the Herb Farm in Woodinville. Lauren's recognition, "You're Emily Carter, the founder?" stunned the room. My father's glass froze, my mother clutched her pearls, and Michael's jaw dropped as Lauren revealed HealthSync's $250 million valuation and its 60% error reduction at hospitals. Emily's calm response, honed by meditation at Juanita Bay Wetlands, and her dignified toast to the couple marked her shift from seeking validation to embodying it. The aftermath was messy but transformative. At a canless brunch, Emily confronted her parents' dismissal, their defensiveness giving way to tentative understanding through family therapy. Michael's apology, sealed with a HealthSync subscription for his hospital, rebuilt their bond as equals. Lauren, both colleague and sister-in-law-to-be, bridged their worlds, helping Emily's parents learn the language of her success. By 2019, Emily stepped into the light, leading HealthSync's innovation division from a Pioneer Square office. A Forbes feature and TechCrunch keynote celebrated her as the Ghost Founder, but her true pride lay in Impact HealthSync's global reach, a 35% reduction in patient wait times, and her Carter STEM scholarship for low-income tech students. Her resilient founders, platform-connected underrepresented entrepreneurs, amplifying voices like hers. Yoga, therapy, and mentoring high school girls balanced her leadership, while monthly family dinners in her Belltown condo showed how far they'd come. My parents' efforts, my mother reading startup books, my father attending a HealthSync demoer, imperfect but real, a testament to relationships that evolve when truth is spoken. Emily's story teaches us that success is not external validation, but the courage to define your worth on your terms. Her journey from a teenager dismissed by her family to a leader transforming healthcare reveals that resilience is built in the quiet moments of self-belief when no one else sees your potential. The lesson is profound. Your value lies in the impact you create, the authenticity you embody, and the peace you find within, not in the applause of others. Emily's persistence, despite her family's doubt, shows that dreams don't need permission to grow. Her choice to protect HealthSync's mission over a lucrative acquisition underscores that integrity trumps wealth. Her reconciliation with her family proves that healing is possible, not through erasing pain, but through honest boundaries and time. For today's audience, living in a world of social media comparisons and relentless hustle, Emily's lesson is a lifeline. Apply it by identifying your passion, whether it's coding, writing, or teaching, and pursuing it with quiet determination, even if others don't understand. Start small. Dedicate an hour a week to your craft, like Emily's late-night coding sessions. Find your tribe, as she found Mia and Sarah, through local meetups, online forums, or mentorship programs. Platforms like LinkedIn or Meetup can connect you to communities that share your vision. Practice self-validation, journal your wins, no matter how small, to build confidence independent of others' opinions. If family or peers dismiss your path, set boundaries, as Emily did, by sharing only what feels safe and seeking support elsewhere, perhaps through therapy or trusted friends. Give back, as Emily did with her scholarship and resilient founders. Volunteer your skills, teach a class, mentor a young person, or contribute to open-source projects. These acts reinforce your purpose and create ripples of impact. Finally, prioritize well-being. Incorporate mindfulness, like Emily's yoga or park meditations, to stay grounded. Apps like Headspace or local classes can help. In a culture that glorifies external success, Emily's story reminds us to measure our lives by the lives we touch and the truths we hold. Her legacy, HealthSync's lives saved, her mentees' dreams ignited, her family's slow healing, a call to action. Build your path, trust your worth, and let your impact be your triumph. Henry Carter, a renowned cardiologist, and her mother, Elizabeth Carter, a formidable corporate lawyer, measured worth by accolades in medicine or law. Her older brother Michael, a neurologist, was their golden child, his every achievement celebrated at family dinners that felt more like tribunals. Emily, however, found her heart in technology, coding late into the night in her bedroom, her walls adorned with code snippets while Michael's boasted academic awards. Her early projects, a budgeting app at 14, a library database at 15, were dismissed as hobbies, unworthy of a Carter. Yet, in those moments of rejection, Emily forged a resolve. She would build something undeniable, not for their approval, but for herself. At the University of Washington, Emily found liberation. Free from her family's scrutiny, she excelled in computer science, her innovative solutions earning professors' praise. There, she met Mia Alvarez, a kindred spirit whose father's medical misdiagnosis fueled their shared vision. Together, they sketched the idea for HealthSync Solutions, a platform to streamline hospital data and reduce errors. Emily's college years were marked by bold choices rejecting Ivy League pre-law programs, launching a podcast, Tech Trailblazers, to amplify women in tech, and winning a hackathon that planted HealthSync's seed. Despite her parents' disappointment, calling her degree reckless, Emily thrived, supported by Mia, her childhood friend Sarah Kim, and mentors like librarian Miss Thompson, who'd first seen her potential. In 2013, Emily and Mia moved to San Francisco's Mission District, trading stability for a dream. Their tiny apartment became a crucible, where late-night coding sessions and a failure wall of lessons from setbacks shaped HealthSync. Freelance gigs paid the rent, while a TechCrunch pitch win and an angel investor's belief gave them traction. By 2016, HealthSync had grown into a Soma-based company with 40 employees, serving 250 hospitals and raising $7 million in venture capital. Emily kept her success secret from her family, who assumed she was in a low-level tech job, offering pity or unsolicited career advice. Her anonymous blog, The Silent Founder, became a refuge, sharing leadership insights with a global community of dreamers. A team-building retreat in Lake Tahoe solidified her team's bond, teaching her that leadership meant vulnerability, not perfection. The turning point came in 2018, when Meditech Innovations offered $250 million to acquire HealthSync. Negotiations in Boston revealed Lauren Hayes, Meditech's acquisition lead, as a key player unbeknownst to Emily. Lauren was Michael's fiancée. Emily and Mia opted for a $30 million minority stake deal, preserving HealthSync's mission to save lives over financial gain. Their pro bono work in California's rural clinics, where nurses like Carla praised HealthSync's impact, reaffirmed their purpose. Emily's journaled letters to her younger self guided her through the decision, a practice rooted in her Mercer Island days of self-doubt.